Sounds like we're live. I do like testing whether the audio's gone live with the acoustic guitar. So we're back. Welcome back to another Tuesday evening stream. Hope everybody's week is going good. Sorry for the delay there at the beginning. Had a bit of technical, I don't know what was going on YouTube's end. Apparently just needed to refresh the page. It fixed it, but we're live now. So we're gonna try doing what we tried doing last week and utterly failed because the stream decided to poop itself and die. So yeah, here we are with Evergreen Gardens. Going to go ahead and get this going since it's a nice long one. We may or may not get to a second one today. I've also prepared a fun, with very loose air quotes around the word fun, fun little game that we can try later. So be prepared for that. If you are joining us, say hi in the chat. And let us know where you're watching from, maybe, if that's something, or don't if you're not wanting to dox yourself, which I totally get. And if you just want to chill and hang out and not participate in chat, that's cool too. Shout out to all the VOD watchers. There's like more of you than I expected there to be, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so we're going to get started here. Again, this is just casual. We're not doing any crazy challenge runs or anything. The only kind of challenge bits that I am doing with these playthroughs is we're going to try to not use advertising if possible, just because it's kind of like a cheat code. It makes especially these guest goals super easy, just painfully easy. And also try to use all of the ride types that we have unlocked. That's not functionally possible, just because eventually we will have too many ride types to actually... I don't want roller coasters going just yet. We'll eventually have too many ride types to have one of everything, but having most of them... I think I said this last time, but if you weren't here with us last time, this particular scenario, Evergreen Gardens, was one of my favorites growing up, but I didn't, I would usually block off all of these areas way out here to keep, as you can see, it's a massive park with tons of windy path, and guests, especially early on, will get lost. It tanks your park rating. So I would usually just put up a bunch of one-way signs or block signs to keep them out from all this extended area and just expand as I needed to go. But we're not going to do that because I'm better at the game than I was when I was like 10. So we're going to instead try to like do it normal. And actually play this without doing that. So the game that I have arranged, and we'll get to it in a little bit. I'm not going to do it right now while I'm really trying to actually build things. But if we kind of hit a lull where we're fast forwarding, we can do it. I've taken some Disney songs from popular Disney movies, and I've run them through machine translation, so like Google Translate, and I've done that about 5 or 6 times. I have the list of all the languages that I ran them through, which I'll read to you when we go to do it. And as you can imagine, all those rounds of machine translation have rendered them English, but not comprehensible English. And so the result is a bit humorous and a bit ridiculous. And we'll play a game where we try to, well, I say we, I know the answers. So where chat or comments later, if you're watching later, can try to guess what the song lyrics were, like what song these lyrics are from, despite having been put through a bunch of translation. I had some of them, having read through some of them, that they're very good. Some of them are not as challenging. Some of them, literally, the song title is preserved in the lyrics, despite all the translation. But some some of them turned out pretty garbled, and the meanings are pretty hilarious. Like the way it shifted the meaning on stuff. But yeah, we'll do that in a little bit when I'm not super focused on trying to build a bunch of roller coasters and stuff. I guess can't get to the entrance as Twist 1. Oh, yeah, I did just, like, completely blank on building a queue line on this, didn't I? That was bad. Alright, so that's 2 rides. We have 10 bathrooms, so we can get our bathroom award eventually. Again, that's random. It selects a new award to give every month, and sometimes there's negative awards, so there's no guarantee that we'll get any of those awards, but we'll see. Maybe. Of course it did. Of course it did. Of course it placed it. So you may notice one of the things I do is place items, place queue paths and stores and restaurants and stuff at these bins. I kind of try to make a point of doing that, of putting them on intersections. That's because the pathing AI for guests wants to walk in a straight line. It's like a 75% chance, if I remember correctly, of them to keep walking straight when they hit an intersection. And this counts as an intersection. So if a guest is walking this way towards this drink stall, it's a 75% chance for them to walk into it versus the 25% chance split in half for them to go to the turlet or to continue on this way. And that random chance means that they're just, again, 75% of guests walking on this path will run into this drink stall, which just everything, the rides, the stalls, everything massively increases your chances of guests interacting with it if they're hitting it more often, right? So that 75% chance is huge for just getting people to actually buy the thing, getting people to actually use the bathroom, getting people to do all the fun stuff. I don't want this here. That toilet's a little closer than I really would have. I was just kind of randomly placing 10 bathrooms around the park. I want to fill out this area over here with a roller coaster, I think, along this open side. So let's put this over here. So yeah, it's been a bit of a week. Not really a crazy amount of news or stuff going on outside of obviously all the Halloween stuff starting up. It's barely the 1st of August, and yet already the Mickey's Not So Scary is running. Halloween Horror Nights will start here shortly. It's not too long. And it's just so insane that we're at the point where these theme parks have 3 months of Halloween. And I think that's kind of the limit. I think going back into July, I mean, never say never, right? But I think going back into July might be a bit extreme. And there's definitely, I'm seeing more pushback online this year than I have in a while, especially from the Disney fans. Usually Disney fans are excited for the Halloween decorations and fall decorations, and excited for the after hours events to start and all that fun stuff. But this year I've been seeing a little bit more, it feels like, of like, geez, 3 whole months of Halloween. Nothing screams Halloween like 100-degree weather. Well, it is Florida. Even October 31st can be 100-degree weather. Not very often, but I've had some really hot Halloween nights where I thought I was gonna pass out just from the heat and humidity. So fair that middle of August heat, but it's not. At least down here, it doesn't get that much better towards October sometimes. Sometimes it does, but it kind of depends on the issue. This year it'll probably get better just because of the El Nino. It might cool off a little bit sooner. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe that's not how El Nino works. I'm not a meteorologist or a climatologist or any of those ologists. I'm a theme parkologist? That's stupid. Okay, so let's see. We haven't built the haunted house. Usually the haunted house is my first go-to if it's available, just because I like it. Speaking of Halloween Horror Nights and Halloween stuff. I just like the design of it. I like the kind of pseudo-Victorian, almost Queen Anne, but not quite. I do wish you could change the colors. I'm sure there's a mod. I'm sure somebody for the Open RCT2 community has made a mod that allows you to adjust the colors on it. Because it's cute with the little green and the kind of cream colored batten siding. Little spooky ghostum. But I don't know. For me, okay, so actually this is a fun question for chat. What colors make you think of like Halloween or horror stuff? Like, what colors do you imagine? Like, when you imagine that haunted house, what color lighting would you want for it? What color decoration and stuff? Because I have a very strong association with three specific colors, and I'm curious if this is something that other people have. Can you create characters to walk in the streets? Heck yes, we can. We need to hire some people anyway. This guy's going to be a Roman gladiator walking around outside of the haunted house. I don't actually know what all costumes we have. We have astronaut, pirate, bandito, elephant, the sheriff, the gorilla costume. You know what? We're going to put a gorilla costumed guy as an homage to Bud Hurlbut, some could say originator of Knott's Scary Farm, the guy who was the first one to put a scare actor in a ride at Knott's Berry Farm back in the day when they did their Scary Farm for the first time. He wore a gorilla costume and scared people on the Calico Mine Ride, which he designed and built and operated. Shout out to Bud Hurlbut. Purple, green, and black light. Okay. I mean, purple and black light kind of seem to go together. Red and dark purple. Yeah, like a dark red, like a crimson kind of, or like a more burgundy. Like what? I saw some grumbling this week with people feeling cheated out of the cost of their ticket for the daytime and having to buy back the time with night parties. I mean, that's always been a complaint, to be fair, with those nighttime events. And especially with Mickey's Not So Scary, because it's in Magic Kingdom. It's in the most popular, most premium, most expensive Disney park in the country, in the world, really. I mean, maybe you could argue Tokyo Disney Sea is a little bit more, I mean, it's more prestigious, definitely, especially amongst the community. Like, people kind of know that's the ultimate Disney park for theming and decoration and everything, and just everything about that park is incredible. It's such a level of detail that it still blows my mind that that park is as old as it is. That it's not even like something new like Epic Universe. That thing's 20 years old. 25 years old. But yeah, people have always complained about and even with Halloween Horror Nights, you get that, kind of from casual people of, oh, well, there's no point in going to the park because they sell, they're going to kick you out at 8 or at 6. I mean, instead of at 10 or whenever the park usually closed, 9, whatever. And I get that. I understand that especially if you're not into the Halloween stuff, if you're just a casual visitor to the parks that goes once in a while, especially if you're kind of semi-local, but you're not going to go to Halloween Horror Nights, you're not going to do a Stay and Scream, you're not going to do those kinds of special events, I can totally understand where you're not going to see the amount of return on investment that you would expect for a quote-unquote full day if they're closing the park early to kick you out. At least Mickey's Not So Scary, it's a blend, more so than Halloween Horror Nights is. I mean, obviously Halloween Horror Nights does the Stay and Scream, but they're a little bit more restrictive about how guest flow works. Like, they kick everybody out, and then that isn't Stay and Scream, and they corral the Stay and Scream people so that Stay and Scream people aren't doing rides and stuff typically until, like, they have to go and be at a designated place when they're closing out the park. Unlike Mickey's Not So Scary, where you're just kind of given free reign of the park while they kick out everybody else, and you just have to have a wristband, and they let the people with the wristbands through. I will say this year's a bit weird with Halloween Horror Nights. Again, it hasn't started yet, so we'll see how this works, but I saw that they were doing Stay and Scream starting at 2 p.m. I mean, eventually, like, I think we're reaching a critical mass on that, where they're just going to have Halloween Horror Nights be they're not going to open the park until noon. And it's just noon to midnight. We're pushing opening back by 4 hours. We're extending closing by 4 hours. And it's no longer a Halloween Horror Nights. It is going to be that just as the name, probably, because the brand is so strong. But it's not going to be Halloween Horror Nights in the sense of a separate ticketed event. They're just going to charge you a bunch of money to be in the park for the day, and it's just going to run noon to midnight. Like, I don't know how realistic that is from an ops perspective, but that is functionally where it's headed. If you're already opening haunted houses at 2 p.m. for Stay and Scream, like, it's not that further to just say, okay, open a few houses at 2. The houses open on kind of a rolling progression until the evening when it's actual nighttime, and just run. You can come and enjoy the park during the day, enjoy the theming and everything. We'll pipe in the spooky music throughout the day, and then as the sun sets, the park kind of comes alive, which is kind of cool. I will give them that. One of the things I do think the Stay and Scream kind of rolling model, as they're going to implement it this year, it appears. Again, I don't have any insider information here. It's just, this is what they've announced. The way that it's going to kind of, if it's running from 2 to midnight or whatever, 2 in the afternoon, I don't know if people would feel like being there that long who wants to do the haunted houses and stuff in full daylight. Apparently enough people that they are selling a Stay and Scream ticket that starts at 2 p.m. And, it's been 4 p.m. the last couple years, if I remember correctly, for some of the houses opening, as kind of an early, not preview, because it's not, but it's like you do the Stay and Scream, some of the limited houses open, and they release people to them. And I know was typically, like, it's been creeping forward year on year. It's been a hot minute since I've been there for, like, right at opening early kind of stuff like that. So I don't actually know exactly what time it is. So correct me if I'm wrong. But I want to say it was starting at like 4:30, at least last year, maybe the year before. This year, they definitely have announced that they're going to open 2 houses at 2 for Stay and Scream people. So you'll have a wristband and you'll be designated Stay and Scream for that evening, and you will be able to access the first house starting at 2. Then the next set of houses, like 2 more houses, open up at 4, and then all the rest of the houses open up at 6. And I'm sure they'll have it worked out to where there's specific houses, like there'll be a trend line of, it's not going to be randomly. Just want to make sure some of these handymen aren't lost or stuck anywhere. It's not going to be completely like random. Oh, this evening, if you go, it's going to be the Sinner's house that's open early, and then this one, it's going to be the Aussie house that's open early, and this one, like, it's probably going to be a set of certain houses that are open, usually be the ones that open early, and then they'll open the rest of them later. And probably the ones that tend to have the longest queue, I would guess. I would guess the big IP houses like Stranger Things or something, just to help their queue length later in the night, especially with them getting rid of the frequent fear express option. So if people want to use express, they have to buy in single night, which there was a lot of complaints about. Frankly, I don't see the complaint. That option had only been around for a few years. It really was a bad idea when they did it. It absolutely ruined the express experience. And there was a lot of, I understand if you're used to buying a certain product and then that product is no longer offered, that can feel a bit disappointing. I will give that amount of I'll give that amount of sympathy, shall we say. But when you're throwing a tantrum online over it, it starts to sound, I don't like throwing the word entitled around, but it does start to sound a little bit entitled towards something that frankly made everybody else's life worse. And the fact that you could afford it in the first place, kind of, or either that or if you couldn't afford it and you were spending on it, that's not a good look either. So it's one of those, like, you're complaining that the most expensive thing isn't. It's like literally standing up at a restaurant after your waiter tells you that the prime rib or the filet or whatever, the most expensive thing on the menu, is not available tonight. The stuffed goose or whatever, and screaming and throwing a tantrum. Look, the stuffed goose isn't available. Like, bro, it's not a good look. Maybe tone it back a little bit. Maybe that's not the thing to complain about. Probably see more kids showing up during the day. Yeah, I think so. I think especially with high school kids, especially the fact that they've got the Fortnite scare zone, which I get, like, the kids that made Fortnite popular are largely in their 20s now, so it's not the old man in me wants to be like, those dang kids, and then it's like, no, those are young adults now, man. Like, those are people who graduated college. A significant portion of them are, at least, people who've graduated college and are getting their lives started. Granted, some of the younger kids that were playing Fortnite when it was actually popular, Fortnite's still popular-ish. I mean, it's like Call of Duty. It's become a perennial thing. Makes sense. According to Google AI, wristband distribution started at 3 p.m. last year. Select houses open at 4. Yeah. And so they're doing that same thing again, just pushing it even further back. So this year, select houses open at 2, which is wild to me. Absolutely wild. But they see enough of a promise there from an ops perspective to do it. So good luck to them. I will say, where I feel most is for these characters, especially those people in those houses. Like, having known people that have worked those houses for years and years and years and years, there's a lot of like that is tiring, very repetitive work. And in Universal's credit, they have done an amazing job over the years of improving character comfort and making those scares repeatable a little bit easier. But that's where my sympathies lie. But we'll see. Maybe they're adding an extra shift. Maybe that's a smaller kind of more... Oops, we're out of money. Maybe it's a smaller kind of more part-time shift. Who knows? I don't know. Again, from the back end, from an ops perspective, we don't know how they're going to, quote unquote, fix the issues that are going to come along with that. But it'll be interesting to see, if nothing else. I'm very curious how they solve what are, frankly, a bunch of operational issues that'll come along with that. But if anybody can do it, I think Universal can. They are pretty good about recognizing and fixing operational issues on that event. Not always, but I mean, the case in point, they got rid of the frequent fear express options. Universal won't let any crap happen to their characters. Unfortunately, yes, they don't let things happen. If something happens, they do their best to fix it. The problem is that just the nature of the job, crap does happen. So, but they, like I said, Universal's pretty good about keeping things sorted. 2 p.m. seems like B team territory. Needs to be 2 shifts. Oh, they're definitely, I mean, there already are 2 shifts, for sure. And again, yeah, you're right, Mike, that there were, B team was doing the 4 p.m. as far as I'm aware. Again, I don't have any background in this. It's just people that I've known that worked those houses. I just wonder if they're maybe going to add a third, or maybe they'll call people in for other houses. I don't know how they'll solve it. They have to hire more people and a lot more shifts so they go during. Well, exactly. Every year that they're pushing these things earlier into the day, it's one thing going from 4 to midnight, 2 a.m. It's another thing to go from 2 in the afternoon to 2 a.m. I mean, you're looking at a potential 12-hour shift there for some people, and I don't know that that's feasible. I don't know that it's feasible to do that job for 12 hours straight. Maybe it is. Maybe that's what they're planning. Maybe they're planning on, okay, we'll bring in one team, let them, but then they're not getting a break for those. I mean, if they're doing it on 2-hour blocks, it's just, I don't know. I don't know the operation side. Nobody does. I mean, obviously Universal does, but they've not opened yet, so we don't know exactly how the ops are working on those early house opens, and I'm not saying there's anything negative there, because I'm really excited to actually see how they solve the operational issue. It's just from a team member perspective, from a character perspective, it definitely seems like that's a big ask. And if they're not going to put a third shift on for some of those houses that are going to be running for literally 12 hours this year, they do an amazing job considering how many people. Yeah, no, it's the operations of Halloween Horror Nights. I don't know. Maybe that's something. Maybe that's a video topic I should do. Just from a crowd control perspective, is insane. That event, and I have to give credit to Knott's as well, because their Berry Farm event is very big too. Now that it's softened a bit, now that everybody has a Halloween event, but Knott's really solved a lot of these problems early on that now everybody kind of has to follow, or not follow, but they did a lot of the heavy lifting for literally decades before anybody else came along to do a Halloween event. And it's has been as crowded even opening that early. I think just going off of, I mean, obviously I'm not going every single night, so I can't answer that. I don't know that anybody really can, because it's fairly subjective of what crowd it is, and just from videos and stuff online of kind of what the people's experiences seem to be, it appears that it's been pretty, I mean, they're not hurting for business, especially if they're expanding hours. They clearly think that they can get people in the door a little bit earlier. I do know that a lot of the local business, a lot of the frequent fear business, is come in the afternoon, evening, after work, stay for a few hours, and then go home. The marathoning all night, show up for either scare and stay and scream, or going in the opening kind of the 6 p.m. kind of window, and then staying until close. I know that that's not really the main local draw for business, but they're also that tends to be the tends to be more kind of single attendance, like people who are only going for the one night, and the people who are coming multiple nights tend to break it up a bit more, tend to call it earlier, which is totally understandable given the nature of what the event is at this point. 10 houses is a lot to do in a single night, and even with an express or an RIP tour, you're hitting those 10 houses. With a tour, at least, you're going to hit those 10 houses in a couple rides, and they're going to hustle you through there. And I don't know, do they? I'm sure they do the Nightmare Fuel show on the RIP tour still. But yeah, like it's a bunch to do. It's a bunch to do in a single night. Which, it's doable. It is definitely doable. But it's one of those things where it's going to depend on, the crowds definitely seem to be thinning out later in the night, is kind of where I was going with that. Just from anecdotal observation, it seems like it being, and that's always been the case, but I feel like it's getting thinner later. It's getting more thin later. Is that what I'm trying to say? It doesn't seem to be as crazy late into the evening, or late into the night, I should say, as it used to be. Because there were days, I mean, I've been going to Halloween Horror Nights since the 90s, so there were definitely times back then, not that far back, but in the mid 2000s is when the event really seemed to pop off. Like, I always kind of have pointed to 2002, the first year that it was at Islands of Adventure, as being the year that, for me, experientially, the event changed. It went from being this kind of weird niche horror event to being something that everybody and their brother in the area went and did at least one night. If you were even vaguely into horror, you went and did it. And that that shift in crowds definitely, RIP Tour ruined Halloween Horror Nights for me. Can't fathom not walking straight up to the front of the line anymore. And the expense being the issue. Yeah, it is. I think it's one of those. We'll see how it goes this year without Frequent Fear Express passes, because that kind of there's an ongoing debate about how much that contributed to line length. We'll see. I don't know that that they were selling so many of those that it really was clogging the lines that bad. But also, just the nature of fewer express in the line means fewer people, like shorter waits for express. I mean, that math holds. It does kind of depend that they're not. They must think that enough of those Frequent Fear with express people were showing up that enough of them won't buy express. This is kind of a bit of twisted logic here, so if I don't make sense, I apologize, because I'm struggling to put it into words myself here. If there were more Frequent Fear Express showing up, then they're going to sell by getting rid of it and only having single night express. Then you should see shorter wait times with the express line this year. And I do know that was something that this has kind of been an open secret for a few years now, and it's something that I think this move kind of confirms, that Universal was seeing a lot of people who had bought express single night give poor satisfaction reviews, that they were getting really negative reviews. And it sounds like some of y'all might have had some similar experiences there, where you feel like express isn't worth buying, and you kind of have to buy the RIP tour just to make a single night work to see everything. And I totally get that. I don't think that's what Universal wants. Like, I don't think that that's optimal for them as far as the business goes. So I think they're trying to solve, how do we make it to where that isn't the issue, where that isn't such a problem that guests are buying the express, buying a single night ticket, showing up and enjoying the event. And I think that that's important for them, because yes, there's a lot of local draw for the event. Yes, there's a lot of people that get Frequent Fear Pass and go, especially given how cheap they've sold it in the past, it can be worth getting the Frequent Fear and going just 3-4 times. And you're not paying really, compared to what you would pay for a single night in Express. If you can make that work, instead make multiple nights work, it's actually kind of more affordable in a strange way. And I think that they saw that trend and realized that they're missing out on business. I don't know. We'll see. So I do want to pivot. First off, just to explain what I'm actually doing here, since I'm just randomly building this coaster. Building a Mobius coaster. Mobius coasters, they'll go down one side. So if you think like a Mobius strip, which is a piece of paper with the fold over it, it's like an infinite loop. So it'll come down one side of the track, come into the second station. So we've got two stations side by side here. It'll park in the second station, launch out of it, come down through this second bit of track that I'm about to build and connect back into the first original station, which is, and if I do it right, it's just a big if I manage to do this right, it should line up in such a way that they kind of, we can tweak a little bit on stuff. But the goal, actually, I think I want this more extreme. The goal is going to be to get it to sync up to where they kind of duel / race with each other. We'll see if I manage that. Is that a straight? It is. Part of it is that I wasn't paying that close of attention to what I was doing because I was running my mouth. And now I'm not 100% sure on what the settings were on everything and how far everything went. I should have been trying to count. And then once we finish this, because I'm not going to try to read mangled Disney lyrics while trying to do this. Oh, it's just short. Oh, that's so annoying. What's going to be the best way to fix this? Probably come from this side, yeah, and just add an extra booster. Maybe even replace that flat one with an extra booster. Just all the boost. Give this side all the boost. And then tight into wide or medium. And then to flat. I don't know that that's actually going to have worked. And of course, it's going to take a minute for it to cycle. And what we'll do is we'll set these stations to trigger with each other so that they will synchronize. At least the first launch will be synchronized. Whether they'll make it through these turns synchronized, whether they'll make it up the second hill synchronized, whether they'll dive off of the... They should dive off the block breaks synchronized, but maybe not. That might need some tweaking. We'll see. This is not the easiest type of thing to build. I know how to solve this. Oh, it's so close. I know how to solve this. And I should have just done this to begin with. This would have been the easy solve. And if I'd been thinking straight, this is what I would have done. Just add a very low power booster up here. And then that will catch it. Yeah, and now it's going to valley back there. So now that booster should catch it and push it onto those block breaks. And then we'll bring it back around. It needs to... That's at -5, so we can drop it one more. Is that really? Oh, I guess I did do that little bunny hill there. I visually used the grid to line these up, and I still don't feel like they lined up correctly. I'll make sure they're square. No, that's not what I want to do. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this the easy way. The lazy way. Put the block break there. And then we need to get it shifted. If we can get it down one, we can shift it over here. Sorry, I know this is not going to make any sense, except because I'm just kind of in my head here. Let's see if what I think I want is this. And if we can get the turns, we can put a break here just to help out. 4 might be extreme, but we'll be able to tune it to make sure that they kind of land in the station at the same time. And then, okay, so it needs one more. Ooh, this might be not the best. Yeah, and that's not going to work. Okay, we'll do it under. We'll do it under, which is not what I wanted to do because it feels like we'll have to... I can do one drop to at least get it closer. Yeah, and so this is where... Here, let me get you a clearer view. We're so close. It's so close. We might be able to... We might have to redirect this path right here to make this work. Which is fine. We had a lot of just long, straight, flat section there, so... And I am highly invested in making this work now. This was not a brilliant idea to do as just a random thing on a stream. I mean, hopefully it's more entertaining for y'all than I'm afraid it is. And actually we can put up another break there. I'm mostly concerned about it going through these... oh, wait, I did... Yeah, I'm mostly concerned about going through these little S-bends at high speed, just because that'll put a bunch of lateral Gs on it, and the game just really doesn't like lateral Gs. It'll be fine, but it might throw a fit. So, like, it might make the ride uncomfortable for people, which we don't want. How's the best way? Okay, I know what I want to do. I'm going to edit this drop over here. I'm going to edit this drop right here just to make it not quite as extreme so that we can have path. Flatten it out. And we're going to adjust. There we go. That's much better. Do they still make Roller Coaster Tycoon? So, yes and no. There hasn't been a new Roller Coaster Tycoon game in a while. In fact, depending on how you define new, there hasn't been one since Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. That said, Atari now owns the IP, has done for a while, and they have used, they have essentially repackaged this version of the game, these older games, as Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic, and they've made some modifications and some changes, and depending on your opinion, maybe some improvements, and just stuff to make it run better on modern systems. And hey, we didn't even need to like destroy path or anything over here really bad, so this is actually kind of better than I thought it would be. I was worried for a second. So they don't really have... They don't really make Roller Coaster Tycoon other than just repackaging this for... Oops, it's going to need... they don't... Except for repackaging this for different... what's the word? Platforms, different whether it's iOS. I have Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic on my phone. In fact, one of the stream, not this one, not the one that's currently on, but one of the stream the thumbnails that I made, one of the thumbnails was was from Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic on my phone, just because it was easier at the time to do that rather than try to get a screenshot from the game. Or maybe it was one of the community posts, something like that. But anyway, point being, they have it for iOS. This is OpenRCT2. So this is a fan recode of the first two games. You have to have a valid disc of the first two games, wink nudge, to have them. And what it does is the original game was written in a particularly... I don't want the log trains, I just realized. The original game was written in assembly code. If that means nothing to you, it's not that big of a deal. Just it's worth noting that it was written in a programming language that isn't... It's not that it's not used anymore, but just that it's kind of harder on modern machines to optimize. I think that's probably the simplest way to put it. And then this is done in a different programming language that makes it easier for modern machines, and particularly for mods. So if you wanted to write a program that made a calculator, these exist in the mod community, a calculator to show you what the optimal price for this ride was using the ride stats, which we haven't even calculated yet. If I've done this right, we should now have a gold train and a purple train race each other every time that it goes to run. Let's just hope it doesn't crash. I just realized that I didn't put brakes on this guy. Okay, he's fine. Oh man, so we're kind of missing all the good show over here. I kind of was hoping... Okay, so now it should. Okay, and it didn't crash. Good. So yeah, here we go. Here's our racing Mobius coaster. And I do think I got the... Oh. I was going to say, I do think I got the timing close to right. That's not ideal. Why is that? Okay. Clearly, this is what I get for celebrating early. Clearly needs some tweaking. What have I done wrong? This might be too aggressive. That was just me panicking and worrying about it crashing into the station. So let's just pull that brake out, and then that's just a block brake. We can increase the speed slightly. I know this brake here is probably too low. Let's crank it. And let's see if that works. Let's call this... So we need a name for this ride. It looked cool on the first half. Yeah, it looked cool when it worked. We need a name for this. I'm thinking something like Chariots. Ladybug Chariots or something like that. I don't know. What feels Romanesque, obviously. We've gone with the kind of Rome classical theming. So this is fine. It should do that the first time because these are still held in here. I can probably delete these brakes up top. Rip Dueling Dragons, yeah. Okay, so a couple thoughts. Let's do this way. Not that train, not that train. This train. Let's see what speed we're at up here. So we're at 10 miles per hour, and we're coasting straight through. Okay. So now, what I'm going to do to tweak it, and we're still only just now at the end of year one. I'm going to tweak this up to 10 miles per hour since we know... Actually, I'm going to go 13. And then that 13, that 13. This should be 13, and this should be 13. Cool. That might... Nope, not green. So this is one of the benefits of dueling... of running a Mobius coaster like this. It adds the stats. So even though the ride time is only 30 seconds long, it adds the stats from both. So you see it's got 10 drops and a whole bunch of airtime that it actually doesn't have. One side, you're only getting 2 really, maybe 3 or 4 if you count the ones at the end, drops. And, okay, now this one's... Oh, wait! Oh, the timing. Okay. Okay, now I'm quite satisfied with how that's turned out. I just need to put the exit path over to the regular path. Romulus and Remus. How did I... That is such a good... That is such a good name. Thank you, Fatalin, for that suggestion. That is 10 out of 10 no notes. That's incredible. I guess, okay, so now, because now you've activated the ancient Roman part of my brain. Now my brain's like, well, we could do Castor and Pollux, which are famous legendary twins of Roman mythology. But no, Romulus and Remus is the correct answer. And I'm I thank you immensely for that suggestion. And yeah, there we go. Now we've built a kind of cool coaster. I do love that random break actually makes them meet up through the near miss section at the end. So we have we're at the beginning of year 2 out of 4 years, and we are 1/10, not even, of the way towards, and we have like no money. So this isn't great. And we only have 2 people wanting to go home. That seems fewer. What's our park rating? 789 is not bad. How many rides do we have? 1, 2. Oh, are a lot of them broken down? Do we need, because I never hired mechanics? Because that would, well, the maze can't break down. I don't think we have any breakdown. Well, yep, that one's broken down clearly. The merry-go-round. He's answering the radio. Okay, so there were multiple breakdowns, and I had just ignored them. Oops. That's why we're not attracting many guests, because all the rides are shut. What is this, a Six Flags park? I kid. I'm actually genuinely hopeful that Six Flags can fix their reputation, because now that it's the Cedar Fair parks too, I think that the I don't know, maybe there's just too much institutional rot in the Six Flags side of the business and it'll just drag everything down, and I know that there's quite a few people that feel like that is exactly what's happening, but I'm more hopeful. Granted, it's already been a couple of years and you would think that they would be. I'm more hopeful. Let's see. I wanted to add a little. Yeah, that's fine because he's got a little. This dock out here made me want to add a little water ride, a little boat hire. If we're doing that there, then there. Okay. And I am not going to let them freely roam around this giant lake because they will get lost. So we're going to build a track. Castor Pollux will be the name of the dueling coaster in the space theme park because I'm guessing we'll be making one at some point. I mean, we could have just changed that one to rockets. There were rocket-themed cars on that one. We could make that one space-themed if we wanted to. But you're right. There will be more. Well, in this scenario, I can double-check this to make sure. Or maybe I can't because we haven't researched it. Because I unchecked scenery and theming. If I remember correctly, in this park, the only extra scenery, so we have nothing starting beyond the basics, like some gardens, some fences, some walls and buildings, which are fairly generic, and these path items, and then plants. Oh, well, I guess some statuary, but nothing particularly exciting. We don't have any true themed elements in this park. And we can research the scenery and theming, but the only one that will actually unlock in this one is the classical Roman style theming. So unfortunately, we don't have access to any like sci-fi or space stuff in this one. So while we could put the rocket cars on there, you're absolutely right. There will be better parks later where we'll have access to more appropriate. I forgot to place the entrance and the exit. And I also kind of bungled. I don't want a super long entrance for this. We'll just put it there. So one thing, loading and unloading is quicker. So unload doesn't really matter in this game. It matters in Planet Coaster. It doesn't really matter in this game because the next ride can depart even with guests leaving on the platform. Where it does matter is the entrance. The closer the entrance is to the actual vehicle or the midpoint of the vehicle, the faster it'll load. So on a train, if you imagine, well, actually, I can demonstrate easier over here on Castor or on Romulus and Remus. So if you see the trains, it's kind of hard to see them in the station, but they run to about here. If we put the entrance here on both sides, it would actually load faster because the guests can reach both sides of the train faster because it's the midpoint of the train. With this boat hire that we're putting in over here, the boats are a single unit at the front. So having the entrance right here at the front would load it faster. It's just a little minor throughput. Putting it on the second one is not going to change whether we beat this scenario or not. So don't it's me being obsessive about very minor details that don't matter at all because it 100% will not. Can the boat hire break down? I don't think the boat hire can break down. I set that to never. We'll find out if it can, because if it can, then it will. And I hope it doesn't, because sloped paths onto water exits for mechanics. Maybe they fixed it in OpenRCT2, but there's a glitch where your mechanics can, hey, there shouldn't be two of you over here, sir. Which one of you is out of place? You. Where are you supposed to be? Handyman 12. You are not in your home. Jeebus. Bro. I should fire him. He's supposed to be halfway across the park. I don't know how he got over there. He must have been trying to path back to that part of the park by coming back and forth down this path. That's annoying. I wonder how much litter there was over there. That might have been part of our... Well, no, we didn't really have a low rating. Anyway, I think I mentioned this, but I don't know if I got it out clearly. I think the only scenery here is the Roman one. So we're kind of... I'm leaning into that theme. There we go. That's not how I want to do that. I want to do that. We don't need that long of an entrance. There we go. Again, just a little bit of optimization there to make the end of the path go into the thing. And now I can actually do the thing that I was trying to do initially, which is decorate. Let's make this the purple. I do like the purple and gold. Makes me think of playing as Trajan in Civ 6, was it? 5 or 6? I can't remember. It's been a hot minute since I played Civ. I think it's Trajan was in Civ 6. But anyway, the Romans, their stuff is all gold and yellow like that in Civ, and it looks cool. At least I think it looks cool. I like that combination. Back to that. I just realized I never... I got chat's answers. So for me, Halloween colors are like a dark purple, which I think we kind of all agreed was seemed to be a frequent answer. Orange, obviously, and like a light pale or neon, not neon, but like kind of a sickly green, kind of a slime green color. Those three, the dark purple and kind of a I'll call it dusky orange, right? Like not a super bright. I mean, it kind of depends, but just purple and orange as kind of your primaries, and then a little green as your complementary. Really seems to do it for me as far as Halloween. If I see that, just seeing that combination of colors, and it's like, oh, it's Halloween. And it could be completely not Halloween related, but just seeing that color combo makes me think Halloween. Since we're already doing our water theme over here, I'll put this very thematic Viking longship right next to our Roman baths themed boat hire, I guess. Let's see. I'm loath to... One of the things I did kind of want to do, again, not really making this a challenge run, but one thing I did kind of want to do was see if we could preserve as much of the gardens as possible. So I don't really want to put it here, even though that's kind of optimal placement. I wish this thing lets you put load and unload. Well, Oh, I'm being very goofy and not paying any attention to how my paths were actually laid out over here. And yes, log cabin or jungle. I think the jungle has like chain link fence on it, so yeah. It's a cool aesthetic, but it's not what we want for this. Wooden, isn't it? So log was the correct one. It's not great. Feels a little too Western. Unfortunately, there's just not a ton of options there. And let's go. We're going to call this one the trireme, right? Give it a name. I can spell trireme right. If I can spell trireme right. I don't even know that was right. I think it was. Oh, of course. Okay, that'll work. And hey, people are actually using the boat hire. That's kind of shocking. What else haven't we built? I spent so much time building those coasters and talking that I lost track. Oh yeah, we can. I mean, here's a giant hill. Let's just do that. Let's build maximum height. This will take forever and it'll have the worst throughput, but Jeez. Is that map max? It is. It's going to take like 5 minutes. The good news is we don't have to write it. Just the guests do. And actually, you know what? I like that log theming. We'll keep it and we'll go... Let's do like leaf... Oh, no. Sorry, I thought this is going to be the bottom. So we'll do like leaf litter. Forest green is an appropriate name for the color. And then this will be like just solid green. Yeah, why not? I mean, it doesn't need a minimum wait time because it will be a minute. I will make this green. One of the things that we hadn't really done in the previous streams was focus on decorating for the park. And in my defense, there's not really a whole lot of theming available in those first early scenarios. But I did consciously want to do a little bit better of a job. Insert GIF of Loki saying, I've been falling for 90 minutes. Yeah. It's only about halfway done, and then they still got to come down. It is a very slow-moving ride. Fun, though. At least they've got essentially there's a double-deck version in the game, too. Or maybe that's only in RCT2. Which, I mean, this scenario won't have access to RCT2 rides. But there's maybe it is in one, I don't remember. But there's a double-deck version, and SeaWorld Orlando has a double-deck version that is actually quite nice. It has a great view of better theme parks from it. I kid. That park is... doing its best with what they're given. And that's mostly a critique of the ownership, not the people working there. They don't have the most motivated employees, but that's a leadership and ownership issue than the people who are having to work there, because they're not being given near the support they need. I didn't really want to put two ice creams this close to each other, so let's remove this one and put it... Actually, yeah, let's put it... I put a... Okay, so there was... Here, let's put it up there. We need to put something up here, too. Draw people over to that corner of the park. I want to put a car ride in here. That sounds like fun. Oh, balloon stalls. I mean, golden balloon next to the sun wheel, of course. Same price. Not that I'm really worried about... Here, let's actually put it on random color, though. Not that I'm actually super concerned about the money we're going to make from these things. We are at max... No, we're not at max loan. I thought max loan on this one was $25K. We're finally starting to get... So what I've done here, and this is like not optimal play. Again, I'm doing weird optimizations on some things and then not others. Is charging what is essentially the maximum that we can charge that'll get people in the door, but they won't have so little money that they immediately want to leave. Because if you charge the maximum for your entrance fee of the lowest amount that people have in their pocket, because they spawn with 4 different amounts, if you charge the lowest of that value, or even the second lowest, you'll make more money in the short term, but the guests will come in, they'll have no money in their pocket, and they'll immediately want to start leaving. They'll try to ride a ride, but because anybody that says they're running out of cash here, which thankfully isn't the majority, it will eventually be the majority of people in this park. Yeah, so we got a couple people running out of cash. Eventually that running out of cash will end up them leaving the park, just because like there's a random chance that they'll want to leave because they don't have any money. We can fix that by having the cash machine, but not in RCT1. This scenario will not have the cash machine because it's from the first game. The second game introduced the cash machine. So unfortunately, we can't, like, that maximum extraction strategy of just charge a ton here and then put a cash machine right inside the door, which works in RCT2 scenarios. It kind of makes some of them a little too easy. Can't really do that here. So, and obviously you don't have to do that. Just don't go for maximum extraction. Let's put a purple balloon stand over here, because obviously people getting off of, oh no. Obviously people getting off of Romulus and Remus are going to want a purple balloon. I mean, they're not actually going to get a purple balloon. They're going to get a random color, but we can sell purple balloons. At least the people who care for the animals seem to care a lot and seem to be doing a good job with the care of the animals. So, I mean, that is kind of Hillpath's problem, aside from the fact that they're private equity and just kind of evil. Their actual problem when it comes to the two Florida parks in particular. So, but I mean, even the other SeaWorld parks, is the animals. I don't think Busch Gardens Williamsburg has very many or a ton of animals. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I've never been to that park. But I don't see people talk about animals there. So I don't think there are a ton of animals there. But their Florida parks, just, animal care is expensive. And you can't run a theme park without AZA accreditation. I mean, you can. Legally, you can. But optically, you really don't want to. And, you know, they've already struggled with the Blackfish stuff, which if you do any amount of independent research on that, if you've seen that movie, just maybe look up some of the stuff behind it and some of the things that even the people in it said about their appearances in it, because it is one side of a story. I'll just put it that way. And I think that they still suffer. They suffered pretty hard from that PR hit that came along with that movie. And then, despite, I think, doing a much better job of explaining the animal care side, of showing the animal care side of there's a very fine line between, and I have a video that I've been working on. It's really hard to, it's really hard to be even-handed and also, like, open-ended on it. But should theme parks have animals? Should there be animals in theme parks at all? And I think that's a valid question to ask. I don't think that there's a necessarily right or wrong answer. I think obviously the quality of care matters the most, and ideally, you know, you'll always have the people there's a certain type of person who thinks that any animal that isn't running around out in the wild is a problem. And unfortunately for those people, that's just not a realistic view of the world. That, in an ideal sense, sure, maybe just let them go and be in their natural habitat. The problem is that sometimes you have animals that interact with humans, that somebody fed them, somebody did a bad thing, somebody did something they shouldn't do, somebody maybe they got hurt, injured, somebody found them and saved their life. That animal's alive, wouldn't be otherwise. But now that animal can't survive in the wild. It's got a permanently disfigured limb or something. And if you release that animal, you're killing it. And so at a certain point, you have to answer the question, which is more valid? Do we let that animal back out into the wild and just to die within a week because it won't be able to feed itself? Or do we keep it as an ambassador for its species within an enclosure that is trying to mimic its natural environment but never will? And do we use it for education and conservation purposes? And I personally obviously feel like the latter is a more valid answer, but I understand why people emotionally struggle with that. I don't think it's a logical position to take for those people, but I understand why emotionally they say, well, no, that's not valid, and they should just be out. And they have an idealist view of the world where they want those animals to be out and living their natural life. But unfortunately, it's just not always going to be the optimal solution, and so you have to solve what to do with those animals. As long as the treatment's good, as long as they're not being abused. But there is a fine line. There's a fine line between, hey, look how good we are. We take care of these animals, right? And doing that to exploit them, to squeeze money out of people. Give us your money. We take care of these animals, and we're doing a really good job of it. Versus doing it for good moral reasons, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, hey, here's this animal. We this is a service that we're providing. We recognize that it takes money to do this. We obviously are a business. We're going to turn a profit with the theme park, but we're also trying to take care of these animals just because it's the morally correct thing to do. And I mean, that's a very fine line to walk. Some lore missing. What movie? Blackfish was the name of the movie. It was and I'm using this with loose air quotes around it, documentary about about an orca that was involved in I'm trying to think of the most even-handed without just, crapping all over the thing while also being respectful of what actually happened. A trainer was drowned essentially by the animal. Of course, the nature of non-human animals is it's hard to say whether it was intentional or whether it was an accident. There are strong views on both sides of that. Again, calling it a documentary feels a bit untrue because it takes a very strong opinion on that topic, and to the point where some of the people who appeared in it have gone on to claim afterwards that their views were misrepresented by the editing in the movie. Which, maybe that's true, maybe it's not, maybe, they changed their mind about how they felt later. I don't know. Like, it's at a certain point, it's a very, he said, she said kind of thing. But what matters, at least from a practical standpoint regarding the SeaWorld parks, is it was a huge PR nightmare for them because it got a lot of traction. It sold a lot of people on a certain idea of what had gone on in that event, and the people who knew that trainer directly have been very vocal, that, or at least some of the people that knew that trainer have been vocal that it misrepresented what that person would have gone on to say. But of course, how can we know that person's no longer with us, unfortunately? So it's not a good look all the way around. But it's one of those things where I totally understand where if that was somebody that you knew and cared about and this movie seemed to be misrepresenting them, you'd be upset about that. I can also see it kind of from the other perspective of if you are someone who cares very much about these issues and you feel like that, the park is wrong or that those people are misrepresenting how that person would have felt or whatever, it is what it is. But again, functionally speaking, the damage was done, no matter which side you come down on the movie itself and on the events around it. The park has suffered as a result. And the fact that, you didn't know what the movie was speaks at least to some degree about how it was kind of a moment in time. So the legacy of it hasn't really persisted. There are still some people who will bring it up anytime you talk about the animal care in those parks. But by and large, I think the majority of the public has come around to kind of understand there's two types of... This is where I was saying AZA accreditation matters so much, because that's the third-party independent reviewer who's going to come in. You have to pay for it, so it is a premium service that you have to hire, which is expensive, and they're going to make sure that you're doing everything up to current, modern, high-tech. Well, not necessarily high-tech. I don't mean to... That makes it seem a little more technological than I mean. But up to modern veterinary standards for the animals that are under your care. And that's very important. At least to me it is. I think that I spent a long time as an anti-zoo person. I very much had some negative experiences. This is Central Florida. If you saw Tiger King, I mean, you kind of know, at least to some degree, you got to see some of the stuff that, some of the Florida, quote unquote, refuges and stuff have going on. So you probably have at least an idea, if you saw that show, how not great for the animals some of those places can be. And so growing up here, you end up going to those kinds of places and seeing those things. And I spent a long time as not like strongly, not like an activist level, but definitely morally, personally opposed to zoos. But I've come around. And that's kind of part of the reason why making that video is something that I want to do eventually on the channel. Is because I want to... Guess can't get to the entrance of Car Ride 1 because I did not build the path like a goof. But personally, I've come around to feel that there is a valid use of having animals in things like theme parks, but it is highly conditional. And without being too tautological, it's conditional on the condition of the animals. If they're being cared for, great. More power to you. If they're not being cared for particularly well, somewhere like Marine Land was doing, where they're just, it's a real issue, then maybe you shouldn't have those animals. And, that gets into, this is a non-political channel, so I'm going to kind of leave it there, but the solution ends up having to be governmental at some point, so. Anyway, one time at SeaWorld, orcas decided they were done for the day and didn't force them to perform. I didn't get to see the show, but I was impressed that they were like, boss said no. Yeah, I mean, that's just... The idea that that's not... I've seen that happen too as a pass holder. I've seen that with actually a few different animal shows where they're just, for whatever reason, something went not wrong per se, but just, animals aren't... You can't force them to do the thing. We're not going to force them to do the thing. So show's over. see you later, folks. Or the animals have decided to go off script. I mean, they're animals. They're not. There's a reason why there's that. I think it was W.C. Fields quote: "Never work with children or animals." Yeah, they're just, they have a mind of their own. They're independent little creatures, and the fact that that's not an inherent standard, that the idea that somebody would force them to try to force them to do the thing, like, come on, go, try to compel them, especially using force or something, just, yeah, it's really gross, really unappealing. But unfortunately it happens. But the fact that it's, and that's where I want to get off of Blackfish, because I don't really care about to talk about it, but I'll just finish with this. Part of the frustration with that movie is there are all these places where that is happening, where it is being done poorly, and you're singling out I get it, they're the big name, but, and there's a valid question of whether or not orcas should be in captivity at all, given their size and what their natural behaviors are. I totally understand that, but there's also a right way to handle that and a wrong way to handle that, and I personally feel like that movie did not handle it in an appropriate way. It felt exploitative in the exact opposite direction of what they're accusing the parks of. But anyway, moving on. We're at 629, August year 2. We're almost to the point where we can kind of fast forward and hope to get 100 or to get 1,000. 1,000 guests is a lot, but they could give us 4 years. The question is our soft guest cap high enough? Let's see. Let's do a little bit of a count here. We could put in some more balloon stalls. Not that we need them, but just having... I'm trying to kind of give every space that has a bathroom, a drinks, a food nearby, and then put, maybe a balloon stall nearby as well. We'll eventually unlock the souvenir stall, probably. We could put one of those in. Here, a launched free fall. That's something we can build that'll help. I was going to do some quick math in my head there to try to get a rough idea of where we were at. And then immediately abandon that for another shiny thing. I just wanted to kind of 20 stalls, 12 rides, only one coaster though. Yeah, we're probably not quite where we need to be. Again, I'm going to sit here and count every single ride to make sure that we have enough of a guest cap to hit 1,000, but we should. Again, we're not using, for those of you that have just joined us here later, we're not using advertising. So we could hit that 1,000 in a few seconds, but we're not using advertising. We're trying to leave as much of the original gardens as possible. Trying to use as many of the ride types, not duplicating rides, so we're not just spamming a bunch of small coasters or something like that. Not doing cheese. Trying to play fairly casually, but also keeping a little bit of a challenge, so it's not just click button win game, which this game definitely can be click button win game sometimes. Not in a bad way. It's very fun. I wouldn't still be playing it after 20 plus years if it weren't fun. I'm not sure how... I did not count. I looked at the number. I think it was... was it 200? I think I did 200. We'll just test and we'll... Okay, yeah. I did like 200. So let's go 70... No, let's try 67 first and see where that's at. Because I don't want to risk Okay, yeah. 74 should do it. Pretty close. That is one of those things. You play the game long enough, and you kind of get... Actually, I think we could get 76 out of it. I don't know that I want to, just from a intensity perspective, but we don't really have very many intense rides in the park. It's a fairly gentle park here so far. Yeah, that's gonna be just one step too high, as I suspected. Okay. All right, I think we're getting close, and probably gonna stop streaming here in about 20 minutes, so we'll let it keep running for a little while, because I want to play a game. I should have done that in Jigsaw voice. I want to play a game. That whole thing. So what I've done, is I've taken some popular Disney songs and I've run them through Google machine translation into several other non-English languages, and then I've put them back into English. Here's the list of languages. Oh, wow. I should have learned how to say some of these. So I ran them into Chichewa, Kyrgyz, Xhosa, Igbo, Frisian, Greek, and then back into English. So these are popular Disney song lyrics that I'm going to read, and I'm going to let y'all guess what the original song is based on the Disney lyrics, based on the translated lyrics. Some of these are fairly easy. We'll start with one of the ones that I did. I checked some of these and I didn't read through all of some of these because they were just, this is going to be wild. Yeah, no, this is fun. Some of these are fairly easy. Some of them ended up with the actual song, if the song title was in the lyrics, some of them actually ended up with, as an example, I did not do, let me double check that. I don't think I did. Yeah, I did not do Part of Your World from Little Mermaid, but that's, that lyric, the title is in the song, or the title is in the lyrics of the song. And so a couple of them had that happen where despite all the translation, it somehow managed to preserve the title despite the title of the song, despite not but despite everything else around it being completely mangled. So here's the first one. Let's see if anybody can guess what this was. By day, the sun is shining too. Those who haven't seen, many things can be done. Some say, eat a meal, if not. Some say, they are alive. But of course, they are like chaos, nothing else. Rural life. If that's enough, there is your hope to jump. Hope, team. It's about finding a place, and it runs after a cycle of circulation and life. Officially, one of us is on the road. We went to a few stars. We have some of their problems, but some say. You can go here anytime. Value beyond consumption. A few days later, he was buried in the air. This is the biggest challenge in the country. Rural life. If that's enough, this is your hope to jump. Hope, team. It's about finding a place, and it runs after a cycle of circulation and life. Oh, man. Any guesses? Oh. That one, yeah, when I say that one's one of the easy ones, I will grant seeing it written down is probably a little bit helpful. Um, some of these turned out really good. That one, I really enjoy the value beyond consumption line, because that sounds like something that, like, if you ask me what's missing from modern Disney, like modern Disney used to be so good, and like now it doesn't feel the same like it used to. What's wrong? What happened? You know, they've gone too corporate. Well, I'll tell you, the problem is value beyond consumption. They're lacking in value beyond consumption. Which, I don't know, maybe one jump. For a second I thought it was Aladdin song when he's running away. No, it's not Aladdin. You're not too far off on the era, though. This is a Disney Renaissance song. The lyric that kind of gives it away, at least, I mean, again, it's hard for me to say because I'm the one that, you know, did this, so I saw I know what the title is, which I get totally makes it seem way more obvious to me than it actually is, because if you just read this to me, I'd probably be like, what on earth are you talking about? It's that in the last line in the kind of repeated chorus part, after a cycle of circulation in life. Any thoughts? Anybody? Lion King. Yes, correct. Lion King, Circle of Life. It's just like some of these are just so bizarre. That one at least, again, it kind of preserved a little bit of it. That one's probably the best one as far as being not completely just unintelligible nonsense while also still having a single interesting like it still maintains some part of the original to it. Let's see, I'm trying to clear out the guests that are wanting to leave so that it'll improve our park rating a little bit. I'm not gonna like sit here and micromanage that forever, but we had 12. I do want to, oops. It's not doing terrible. Most confusing park layout award. I mean, that's because we like legitimate. So that's one of the bad awards. The problem is I don't know the words to most Disney songs. Yeah, fair. That's entirely fair. So yeah, because we didn't block off stuff, we are having people getting lost and not being able to find their way, and that is through the path unwinding. It's a bit of the actual lyrics from Circle of Life. Hey, there's that best turlet award. Ah, there it is, finally. Just doesn't feel right until we get the best toilets. I am going to cut this down so we stop paying that $40 in loan interest every month. Not that it matters. 805. Let's fast forward to the end of year 2 and we'll see where we're at. Well, I say fast forward to the end of year 2. Let's fast forward to the end of this month, which will be the end of year 2, and see where we're at. English is my second language. I already know the lyrics wrong. Fair. That's fair. And I mean, so some of these I will admit, I did a couple of them that were a bit older songs. I tried to pull a little bit of different eras. So some of these, like, I don't even know if modern Disney fans will even know some of these songs, like if they're a bit before their time. Yeah, toilet award. I need to remember to. I wanted to do the toilet award emoji, and I forgot to set that up. Not that it's that hard to do. Like it's completely doable. Just I forgot about it. So here's the next one. I will give the hint that this is also from a Disney Renaissance movie. That'll help narrow it down. Oh, and the Safest Park Award. Is he sat on the sidewalk. Nothing is said. In any case, something is happening. Also, I don't know why. Of course you're dead. He wants to kiss her. Yes, you need it. Look at what you're saying. And he can believe it. There are applications in one way. This is a name, a word. Man, as a woman, kisses the girl. Oh my God. Another friend is the mother. This seems to mourn the child. It can. Another friend, the sadness. This is terrible. It's a shame. Become a girl. Man, as a woman, kisses the girl. This time it's for you. Kisses the blue swimmer. My son, well, recently, are well. He didn't say anything. He did not give a name. You walk the girl, kiss the girl. That one kind of gives it away there at the end. Ooh, Best Food Award. That one kind of gives it away there at the very end. But, oh, man. Yeah. Yes, definitely kiss the girl from Little Mermaid. There's one in there. Where was it? There's one bit that just... He didn't say anything. He did not give a name. You walk the girl, kiss the girl is just so bizarre. It's like, how did they get... I don't even know how it... Obviously, it kept kiss the girl. But you walk the girl. That is just very funny to me for some reason. So yeah, that's a couple of those. We can do a couple of those each stream. I'll save some of these for later. There's one in here that I don't think anybody will get this. I don't think anyone will be able to... tell you it's an older Disney song. And I don't... It's so funny. I have to do this one. Before long, there was a queen. Queen, right? He began to love. Why not? Yes, he did. Everyone can see the beautiful prince. Just me. How long and healthy is that? How big? Big? There's no one like you here. What do you like? Do you bend over? He is very sweet. I wouldn't ask. For someone else, one day we met. Again, he went to the palace. That was fun. A spring day. I love more. Bird studies will also include wedding activities. One day, my dream came true. Bird studies will also include wedding activities sounds like an anime to me. Big? Big. Yes. Well, no, it's not just big. It's how big? Big? How strong and healthy is that? Since I am absolutely certain no one will be able to guess it, that is Someday My Prince Will Come. Which just, yeah, wow. Absolutely mangled that one. Oh, man. Once there was a princess. Was the princess you? And she fell in love. Was it hard to do? Well, it was very easy. Anyone could see that the prince was charming. The only one for me. Was he strong and handsome? Was he big and tall? There's nobody like him anywhere at all. Did he say he loved you? Did he steal a kiss? He was so romantic, I could not resist. Someday my prince will come. Someday we'll meet again. and away to his castle we'll go to be forever happy forever, I know. Someday when the spring is here, we'll find our love anew, and the birds will sing and wedding bells will ring someday when my dream comes true. So actually, it got the one day my dream came true, someday when my dreams come true. Not too far off. Bird studies will also include wedding activities. Again, sounds like to my ear, sounds like a the name of an anime, just like one of those really weird esoteric animes. And yeah, it was just so not what the original words were on that one. So there's a few of those. I'll save some of these others, and I'll try to maybe do some more for the next stream. I've got like another 4 or 5. Wedding activities make it sound wrong somehow. Well, yeah. I see where you're coming from on that one. And the birds will sing and wedding bells will ring somehow becomes bird studies will include wedding activities. Will also include wedding activities. Just, oh man. And somehow better than any Lin-Manuel Miranda lyrics. Oh, the hottest of takes. And I mean the translated ones, not the original. It's Snow White, yes. I believe. Wait, did I just get that wrong? Those are fighting words? I mean, okay. Yeah, like everybody has their own personal preferences when it comes to lyricists and can enjoy whoever they like to enjoy as a lyricist. And there's nothing wrong with that. It is perfectly fine to enjoy Lin-Manuel Miranda's lyrics. I just might silently judge you. So my estimations were somewhat accurate that he's very popular, don't you? Yes, he's very hot. Well, so this is a 10-year-old joke. He's very hot right now, like that Hansel. But is he still doing stuff? I mean, I know they just did the live action Moana, but like, has he actually done anything new recently? I'm sure he's still working, but like, I think he had a bit of a moment, which, yeah, I mean, more power to him. Like, hey, get your money. Like, I just don't care for his work. I've literally nothing that he has worked on has ever appealed to me. Even when I didn't know it was his work, I would listen to it and go, this is kind of lame, and then find out that he'd done the lyrics on it. It's kind of like, well, yeah. Don't think they did anything new for they definitely didn't do anything new for that live, well, very loose air quotes, live action Moana. But I mean, they did Moana 2 just like a couple years ago. I'm sure he's working on something for Disney right now. I will say this, and I don't think this is an exceptionally hot take. I don't think this is an exceptionally hot take. Disney really has got a problem with a shallow talent pool today. Not everything needs Josh Gad in it. If you're a Josh Gad fan, that's fine. Like, I mean, I don't loathe the guy or anything. He seems nice enough in person. Like, it doesn't. I'm not a fan of Olaf. I found that character kind of insipid and annoying. But you know, like, it's fine. It appeals to kids. It's whatever. Like, to each their own. But he doesn't need to be in everything. And the same thing with Lin-Manuel Miranda. It's one of those, like, I don't understand. Like, okay, yeah, he did a very popular Broadway show, and we're going to bring him in to do that kind of style, but for our movies. Cool. Great. Maybe, I mean, even despite the fact that we think we associate the Disney Renaissance with Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, they didn't do all of those movies. I mean, they did a lot of them. They did most of them. But they didn't do the Mulan music. Like, they weren't doing everything. They didn't do, like, while they were doing Pocahontas, they had, you know, Elton John and Tim Rice over there doing the stuff for Lion King. Like, I guess mix it up a little, you know, is what I'm saying. Like, it feels like they're at least the musical stuff from Disney has just, and a lot of it's just been the problem of remakes. They're just constantly remaking stuff. But man, like, just branch out a little bit, guys. maybe expand your draw, because fair enough, if that style's really popular, sells a lot of tickets, it really works, cool, you know. It's just not to my taste. There's nothing wrong with that. Disney has tried to mix it up and it's not taken off. Like, what? Like, I'm genuinely curious about that. I will admit my ignorance on musical projects that they've done in the last decade that didn't have Lin-Manuel Miranda, or that married couple that did. Music from Wish was awful. I mean, I heard like 2 songs from it and I didn't care for either one of them, but I don't know who did the music for that movie, to be fair. Again, I will 100% admit my ignorance on that. If only I had access to some kind of device here that I could click on a window and like find the answer to all these questions. We do need to make sure that so we're in September and park rating is kind of crashing. So I'm going to go ahead and slow this down and just make sure that everything's kosher. Running out of cash is not great. Need the bathroom. We'll spend 30 cents. Want to go home is decent. So I told you earlier in the stream, running out of cash would be the top, and sure enough, which is a bit of a problem, but more than anything, we want to clear out all these people that are trying to bail, because this is the real problem with this park, is that it's so big. How big? Big? Julia Michaels and Benjamin Rice apparently did the Wish music. Okay. I don't know them, to be fair. I will, after the stream, I'll probably look up their resume and kind of explore a bit more about them. Like, but fair enough that Disney has tried, and the only one that's selling. I wonder how much the problem with Wish was beyond the music not being great, because I didn't see a ton of people really. I mean, aside from the usual everything Disney puts out is amazing and wonderful and I love all of it types, I didn't see a whole lot of, hey, you really have to go see this, it's really actually very good. I saw a lot of kind of, I wouldn't call them complaints, but definitely kind of non-enthusiastic discussions of the plot and of the characterization, particularly of the villain. Again, maybe that's, let's see, is there anywhere where people are saying disgusting? Don't see people really complaining about, but you know what? I'm betting I didn't put. Yeah, there's where our, so this right here, and it's kind of fun that I can demonstrate how literally just not having a guy to clean this section is what we would potentially have lost after all that time, 4 years worth of in-game park, and we would have lost the scenario, failed, because I I laid out the paths for the handyman, and then when I built this extra path here, didn't have anybody clean up the vomit on it. Because as these sit, even if people aren't complaining about it, just them sitting, if they're there for long enough without being cleaned up, it tanks your park rating. And you'll notice the second that this, you can kind of see as it's built up, what's happened to our park rating. After he gets all these cleaned up, watch it, it's going to spike. Our lowest was 687. We're already back up to 848. So once this, yeah, there you go. That's how much that spike right there, and actually it's probably going to keep building, but that spike is purely off of just not having a little corner of path, just a tiny little spot somewhere, and with all of this path, I don't want him. Despite that's part of the problem with having all this path is that you open yourself up to little corners like that you forget to have covered, and all of a sudden, well, 909 is going to do us pretty good. Let's make sure that I'm just kind of visually trying to inspect, make sure there wasn't any little corners left. I know it's been 2 hours, so we're going to wrap up. This will be the only scenario we run this time, as I suspected. We'll wrap up here shortly as soon as we win this one, but I just want to, before I hit fast forward on it to win it, I wanted to make sure we didn't fail it because it was on its way. And yeah, 908, so perfectly fine. Everyone knew Let It Go, or You Don't Talk About Bruno, got radio play. I haven't seen that kind of buzz since Encanto. To be fair, Disney doesn't need that. I think part of it is we got kind of spoiled in the 90s with thinking that movies there was a thing in the 90s where movies had a song attached, not just Disney movies. Just in general, movies that Kiss from a Rose, from Batman Forever, right? Like there were these movies that would have a song attached that would get radio play, and these songs would become huge. And the fact that Disney songs got radio play in the 90s was kind of wild, but it happened. And part of the way that they would do that is they'd get popular, especially adult contemporary and R&B artists, to record a kind of pop version of usually the love song, but not always. A lot of times it was a duet. And they would get that and release it as a radio single, so that and it was, kind of typical cross promotion kind of stuff, right? Here's the song from Disney's Aladdin, and then here's, I think it was Peebo Bryson and someone else, I can't remember. Sorry for forgetting that, but then maybe it wasn't even him. But then that got radio play, right? And so You Don't Talk About Bruno getting actual radio play or actual charting kind of makes you think that maybe that Disney could go back in that way, but really it's all TikTok videos. If the song gets used as a clip in TikTok videos, that's really kind of more the modern measure of success, even though I don't think the majority of parents or kids that those parents are taking to those Disney movies, the kind of what is seen as the core audience, I don't think those are the people that are making most of those TikToks. I mean, I'm sure some of them are, but TikTok seems to be a bit more of a teen and young adult kind of platform. So I don't know how much that that we can put radio play as a measure of success. And Let It Go was just a phenomenon. That one's generational. I don't think Disney could go another 20 years without another Let It Go, just like they went 20 years without another part of your world, right? Like there's just some of these songs just go so far beyond. And if you look, both of those were from that first movie. It kind of brought them back again. We have the whole term Disney Renaissance for what Little Mermaid did to that animation studio. So, but yeah, I think there's something to be said about the lack of diversity of creators when it comes to, and I don't mean that in a diversity capital D thing. I mean just they tend to use a lot of the same people when it comes to the music over the last decade, and that's fine. Again, that worked in the 90s, but they also didn't do that. Like they also didn't exclusively use those people, and that's where I think the criticism that the music from Wish being awful comes in. Was okay, the music from Wish is awful, but nobody said that about, nobody said, oh, the Mulan music, that's terrible. No, there's people out there who have made I'll Make a Man Out of You is their entire personality when it comes to Disney music. I mean, come on, like it's that song alone is better regarded than a lot of the B-sides off of any of the Menken and Ashman stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, like Menken and Ashman stuff is amazing. As a musician, I have deeply studied Menken's writing style of harmony because he's just an absolute genius of it. Juilliard trained and incredible pianist in his own right, and then has an insane ear when it comes to writing, especially harmony, and the way he mixes harmony and melody. It's really, really sophisticated. I don't, like I said, I don't know those people from Wish, so I'll kind of look and see why Disney hired them, what their resume was. But yeah, just feels like maybe don't hire Lin-Manuel Miranda for your next movie. Maybe try somebody else. But anyway, he's going to keep getting work, and I'm going to keep doing these streams. So maybe he knows something I don't. Anyway, this has been a fun one. We actually won. The stream actually stayed up this time, which was great. So success all around. Great success. I'm going to call it a night here, but thank you all for joining me. Next time we'll be here at the same time, same day of the week. So Tuesdays at 7 right now seems to be kind of the good streaming time. People seem to enjoy that. We'll be doing whatever the next scenario is. I've thought about maybe doing a shorter park where we just kind of explore some of the some not glitches, but like exploits and stuff. We can show how ridiculous this game can get. You can literally win just by having guests on a single tile, and just spamming advertising. It can get really absurd. So maybe we'll show some of that off if people are interested. But anyway, that's going to do it for me for this time. Thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you next time.